Hi, I'm Rachel Elder, and I am a licensed mental health counselor working with couples and also a business coach. Today, I wanted to come on and talk about the art of networking, or what I like to call it is networking is like dating. And I'm going to share a story from my first experience of getting out into the world as a new therapist. I started my career working community mental health and realized I needed a backup plan. And so my backup plan was private practice. I really wanted to make it in community mental health. I had this dream of being there for decades and changing the system. And unfortunately, if you've been there, I'll share in another post later on, it just wasn't sustainable for my life. I was burning out. I was so stressed, so anxious, so exhausted, so much of the time. And I realized I needed a backup plan. I needed something that if I really burnt out fully, that I could lean on or move towards. So I started doing private practice 1 day a week. At that time, I was primarily working with children and adolescents. I loved middle school and high school students. I loved the identity development phase. And so I started working like 4 10-hour days, or, I made a schedule work where I would get off about noon on Mondays, and I had the rest of the day to do private practice. Of course, when I opened my private practice doors, I didn't have like an influx of clients right away. And so networking is always recommended. I recommend this to my supervisees and to the people I work with. Networking is key in building a therapy practice and having a marketing source of others sharing who you are. And so when I was in my office day and I didn't have clients, I was scheduling. I went into the office. I had an office that I was seeing people in person. I went in and I said, you have to be here for at least 4 hours today. Even if my schedule was 12 to 7, I've got to be here for 4 hours and be doing something to build my business. And a lot of that was networking, building a website, listening to podcasts, trainings about developing a private practice. And so every Monday, and sometimes Saturdays and Sundays, depending on when people are available, I was networking. And some of those networking meetings were incredible. Very wonderful. Many wonderful people who were willing to share their experience, give valuable input and feedback and advice. And I had a few that were not so great and were actually really painful and hurtful. And that's why I like to call networking as dating. So in those experiences where I met with some therapists that were really painful and hurtful, what I experienced is that their lived experience became a judgment on what I was doing. I got the feedback that I hadn't been in community mental health long enough and I still had so much to learn and I shouldn't be opening a private practice. They actually encouraged me to shut it down and not pursue it. I had some experiences where you could just tell, similar like on a bad date, like there just was something off. Whether it was our personalities were clashing, but it became this very like icky feeling of, oh my gosh, I feel less than, I feel the imposter syndrome. And these two experiences really impacted me and really shook me as I was preparing private practice. I remember coming home one day and I was just sobbing. I tried to get myself together before I came into the house, but I couldn't stop. And my husband was like, what happened? And of course I laid it out and told him what I experienced, and he has some other language, but basically was like, forget about it. Don't let who they are and their judgments stop you. Keep going, which is amazing, having that support and encouragement. But it was really painful and really hard. And when that happened, I wanted to hide away. I didn't want to keep putting myself out there. I let the weight of that impact me more than those positive networking experiences with other colleagues. So I share that to just share where my feedback and advice and input comes from. Networking is not easy. That's why I call it dating. My dating experience was wild and crazy. It was also very short. The container space was about a month, and then I met my husband, which I'm grateful for because I would not have wanted to do that for years. And I feel for so many people who are on the market of dating and finding that person for them for years. I feel for you. But networking is like dating. Some of the networking dates you're going to go on are going to be a one and done. you're going to feel that it's just not a good fit, or you're not connecting, your personalities may be clashing, and you just have this like instinct or internal sense of, I don't know if I want to follow up with that person. And that's okay. Networking with someone doesn't mean you have to become best friends and that you must be the best referral partners or you have to stay connected. It's a mutual experience, and it's okay if you go on a networking meetup or to an event and you connect with someone, or you are trying to connect with someone and it's not taking off. It doesn't benefit you to push it. You can still be kind and respectful. So-and-so works with trauma, or so-and-so works with anxiety. You can still keep that in mind as a referral source, and you don't necessarily have to keep building that relationship. When you go on a networking date, event, experience, and you do hit it off with someone, it's mutual. You feel that energy, like you want to keep talking. You are trying to figure out like how you can see them again. Follow up with that. Listen to that instinct, listen to that felt experience, and pursue building a relationship with that person. Networking is the first start to building that relationship. So many people handle it as a one and done kind of situation, and I think you are missing a valuable marketing referral partner if you're not following up on those relationships. So some of the ways that you can follow up when it's clearly like, this is a good date, we want to go on a second, a third, a fourth. We're not dating them, but we're using that analogy or metaphor, whichever one it is. Here's some things that you can do. 1, send them a follow-up right after or a few days after meeting with them. Talk about how wonderful it was to connect, how you're looking forward to seeing them again, and get another date on your calendar or on your networking schedule that you have blocked off. Follow up and pursue that relationship. That's step number 1. Number 2, be a great referral partner. When you start to see clinicians looking for their specialty or their background, start tagging them, start including them on posts in Facebook or sharing their website. That also builds that relationship. You're building trust, you're building hope with one another, you're building that sense of, oh, this person really understood and was connected to me on that meeting, and now I want to refer to them too. That's another thing you could do. The third thing, you can start to schedule case consult groups with them where you have like a monthly or weekly or every other week follow-up to build that relationship. My pro tip or bonus tip is that when you schedule that follow-up, a second networking date or meetup, don't just focus on your work. Typically, when we do that first network meetup, we are sharing about who we are, who we love working with, who maybe is not a good fit. We spend a lot of it on the business side. When you go on the follow-up networking meetups with these people that you are hitting it off with, make it more personal. Get to know who they are. What are their likes, their interests, their hobbies? What do they do outside of being a therapist? What has been their lived experience in this work? What are the ways that they need to be encouraged or supported, because this work can be hard? Build that relationship, just like dating. You want to be curious about them. You want to know more about them. You don't want to just know this part of them. That's what makes such a good referral partner. I tell my supervisees and people I connect with and network with often that if you can find 3 people in your corner pocket who are referring to you often and consistently, that's huge. Find 3 people, right? Start with the first, the power of 1. Start with the first person, build that relationship. And a great question you can ask them is, who else do you think I should connect with in your world that you think would be really beneficial for me to get to know and the work they do, and vice versa? That could become person number 2 that you build a relationship with. Or you're out and about in the world and there's something about this person that you're like, I want to know more about them. Networking and referral partners don't just have to be other therapists. This is where you hear a lot of feedback of like connecting with doctors' offices or occupational therapists, physical therapists. Referral partners don't just have to be in our field. There are businesses like coffee shops, clothing stores, your friends and family, which are a little bit easier to build those relationships with. There are a lot of people that are in your world that can become really valuable referral partners. I'll share my mom. I love her. I moved to Seattle from Indiana, and so my mom's network is all in Indiana, and she's constantly connecting people to me, despite the fact I'm not licensed in Indiana. But she's a great example of that referral source. I know she's biased because she's my mom, but I didn't ask her to do this. It's just she's proud of me. She wants to support me and encourage me. And even though she doesn't always fully get that I can't support these people, she still is putting my name out there constantly. And visibility is key to building a private pay practice or a private practice in general. So just some short tips, some advice, some lived experience. Treat networking like dating. Some of those dates are going to be dates you want to go on a second, a third, a fourth all the time. Others are going to be a one and done, and that's okay. You don't have to judge the person, shame the person, talk negatively about them. You just get to hold for yourself, this wasn't a good relational fit. And that's okay. I don't have to be connected to everyone. I can still be kind and respectful, be cordial when I see them, and I don't have to feel guilt and shame for not wanting to pursue more with that. So I'm curious for you what your networking experiences have been like, what has worked, what has not worked. Let me give you one more bonus tip. Track your referrals. Every time I network, this came from a business coach I worked with, I have a Google Excel sheet. I have business cards as well, but my daughter loves to steal those and play with them. So I bring them home. I write in that person's name, put their website, email. If I got a snippet of who they work with, I put that there because I'm a visual person, and so I don't always remember off the spot. I put if they're in network with insurance or private pay, if they have openings. Track those referrals. Track the networking events that you're doing. 1, to keep yourself accountable to connecting with people. 2, to have a referral list when you have your clients saying, I need someone who does EMDR work. You can go to your list and be like, I've got 3 people who I connected with who I think could be a good fit for you. Let me pass them on. That warm referral is huge. And then the other thing you can do with it, and that I do, is I usually send out 2 to 4 times a year a general practice or here's what's happening in our work email to these people I've networked with. Some people follow up because I always say, tell me what's going on in your world. I want to know how I can support you and what's going on so I can be updated if your practice has changed, if you're taking a break, whatever it is. It's all about learning about them as well, not just pitching myself. But it's a great way of just keeping people in the loop and visible about what you're doing. Okay, I just gave you so many tips. Take one. Right? You can take them all, but at least start with one piece that spoke to you, stood out to you today, and implement it. That is the power. The action that you take from watching this is the power. So go do it.